As a sports medicine physician, I've spent the last 28 years on the front lines helping adults over 60 fight muscle loss. And I've seen what really works. So in this explainer, we're going to cut through the noise and look at the hard clinical proof behind 6 simple foods that can rebuild muscle way more effectively than any expensive supplement you can buy. Let's get one thing straight right away. After 60, losing muscle isn't about how you look in the mirror. It's not about vanity. It's about independence. It's about whether you can still carry your own groceries, climb a flight of stairs without grabbing for the rail, or just stand up from your favorite chair without a struggle. So I want you to think about this. When was the last time you felt truly steady on your feet? That feeling? It's absolutely still within your reach. And believe it or not, it probably starts right there in your kitchen. Most people get told the same old thing. Just buy a better, more expensive protein powder. But here's the truth, backed by real-world clinical studies. Simple foods, a lot of them costing about $1, actually rebuild muscle faster than any of those powders. The reason is really quite simple. Our bodies, especially as we age, are designed to recognize and use real food in a way they just can't with a processed powder.
Okay, so today we're going to walk through 6 of these powerhouse foods, and every single one is backed by solid research. We're talking Greek yogurt, canned sardines, whole eggs, black beans, cottage cheese, and we'll finish up with lentils.
So let's start with our first food. Here's a question for you. When did a simple container of plain yogurt start to outperform a $50 tub of protein powder? Well, the answer might just surprise you.
Researchers over at McMaster University found something fascinating. Older adults who ate Greek yogurt every day held on to more muscle mass than people who were using expensive powders. The secret? It's a special kind of protein called casein. Think of it like a slow-release fuel. It feeds your muscles steadily for hours, which is absolutely critical for repair as we get older. On top of that, it's loaded with leucine, an amino acid that basically flips the on switch for muscle growth in older bodies.
And the method is incredibly simple. You just need 3/4 of a cup of plain Greek yogurt. Let it sit out on the counter for about 10 minutes before you eat it. That helps activate the live cultures and makes it easier to digest. Have that about 30 minutes before your main meal. Now here comes a really crucial warning. Never, ever buy the flavored yogurts. All that added sugar actually blocks the casein from being released properly. And of course, if you have any issues with lactose sensitivity, please check with your doctor about your dairy tolerance. All right, next up, we're heading to the sea. Now, this might sound a little out there, but could $1's worth of sardines actually outperform months of hitting the gym? Well, the data from one key study points to exactly that. In a study from the University of Western Australia, they had seniors eat sardines just 3 times a week. The result? Their grip strength shot up by an incredible 28% in only 2 months. Why? Because sardines are this perfect storm of protein, vitamin D, and omega-3 fatty acids, which work together to lower inflammation and help your body put all that protein to good use. If you want to get the most out of them, try mashing them up with some avocado and putting that on whole grain crackers. And here's a pro tip. Always buy the cans with the bones still in. Don't worry, they're soft and totally safe to eat, and they are packed with calcium that your muscles need to contract. But please, listen closely to this specific warning. If you are taking any blood thinners, you absolutely must talk to your doctor before you start eating more omega-3s. For decades, we were all told to avoid the yolk, right? Just eat the egg whites. But what if that part you've been throwing away is the exact thing that keeps you strong? Well, scientists at the University of Connecticut found that whole eggs trigger 40% more muscle protein synthesis compared to just eating egg whites. It turns out the yolk has special compounds that activate something in our body called the mTOR pathway. You can think of it as the master switch for building muscle. As we get older, that switch gets harder to flip, and it seems whole eggs are one of the best ways to turn it back on. In a study that uncovered this, the participants were eating 3 whole eggs every single day. The best way is soft-boiled or poached, because that keeps all the powerful nutrients in the yolk intact. Now, it's very important I add this warning. If you are managing cardiovascular disease or diabetes, please consult with your physician before you make any changes to your egg intake. Our fourth food is one that might be sitting in your pantry right now, totally overlooked.
But could 50 cents worth of black beans actually help you match the strength of someone 20 years younger? The research from Harvard on this is just stunning.
Researchers there discovered that seniors who ate beans daily showed the kind of muscle strength you'd expect to see in people 2 decades younger than them. Part of the reason is something we call the gut-muscle axis. The fiber in the beans feeds the good bacteria in your gut, and that good bacteria, in turn, helps your body regulate muscle growth. To really unlock this power, soak them overnight with a splash of apple cider vinegar. Then cook them with some cumin and serve them over brown rice. And a very, very important note of caution here. Seniors who have kidney disease must consult their nephrologist before they start eating a lot more beans. So, what if I told you that your most powerful window for building muscle actually happens while you're sound asleep? Well, that is exactly what the newest research is telling us about our fifth food, cottage cheese. Florida State University found that older adults who ate cottage cheese before bed gained 60% more muscle than people using protein shakes. Just like the yogurt, it's all about that slow-releasing casein protein. It provides a steady drip of amino acids for up to 8 hours, nourishing your muscles, and, this is key, preventing them from breaking down while you sleep. For a really powerful recovery meal, try eating 1 cup about an hour before you go to bed. Mix in some ground flaxseed and a few berries, that'll slow down digestion even more. And here's the crucial warning. For any seniors dealing with cardiovascular or lipid conditions, you should definitely confirm that eating full-fat dairy is okay with your physician. And that brings us to our final food, which might just be the most impressive of all. What if something that costs just pennies per serving could actually help renew your aging muscle cells from the inside out? A study at the University of Sydney found that adults over 70 who swapped out their protein shakes for lentils actually gained more lean muscle. See, lentils contain a special compound that triggers something called autophagy. You can think of it as your body's cellular housekeeping. It clears out old, damaged cells to make way for new, healthy ones. To get the most out of this, try sprouting them for 48 hours and then cook them in bone broth with a little turmeric. And one final point for this food, seniors who suffer from gout should talk to their doctor before eating more lentils because of their purine content. Now, all this clinical data is powerful stuff, but I always want to know, what does it look like in the real world? So let's step out of the lab and into the kitchen with a story that really brings these studies to life. This is from Robert, a 67-year-old from Denver. He told me he spent 2 years and over $80 a month on protein powders and got 0 results. Then he simply added Greek yogurt, sardines, and cottage cheese into his diet. The result? He confirmed a gain of 4 pounds of lean muscle in just 10 weeks. Now, Robert's story is so powerful because it points to a solution for a crisis that is largely preventable. The CDC reports that 1 in 3 seniors falls every year because of muscle weakness. But look at the other side of that number. That means 2/3 do not. This isn't just an inevitable part of getting older, it's a condition we can actively fight with the right fuel. Real food reversed Robert's decline, and it can absolutely do the same for so many others. So it all comes down to this question, and I want you to ask yourself honestly. How much strength have you quietly lost over the last 5 years? And more importantly, how much of it are you willing to take back? Before we wrap up, I need to give one final comprehensive warning. Please understand, these 6 foods are powerful, but they do not replace medical care. It is essential, and I mean essential, that you speak with your physician before making any big changes to your diet. This is especially crucial if you have kidney disease, diabetes, or cardiovascular conditions, or if you take any kind of prescription medications. Every single person's body is different. I'll leave you with this one last thought. Your muscles have not given up on you. Not at all. They are simply waiting for the right fuel. And as we've seen today, that fuel, it can cost less than $1.
All right, let's get right into it. Last time, we talked all about the amazing, affordable foods that can help you rebuild muscle after age 60. But that's only half the story. You see, it really doesn't matter how much good stuff you're eating if your diet is also full of these 6 common foods. They're silently sabotaging all of your efforts. Let me ask you something. Does getting up out of a comfy chair take a little more effort than it used to? Do those grocery bags feel like they're packed with bricks? Or maybe you've noticed your grip just isn't what it used to be. It's easy to just chalk it up to getting older, right? But here's the thing. What if I told you it's not just some inevitable part of aging? I've seen it time and time again. For so many people over 60, the real culprit isn't their age. It's hiding in plain sight, right there in their pantry and their fridge. Okay, let's start with the one that's a real shocker for most people. It's something that lines the aisles of every single grocery store and seems totally innocent. I'm talking about refined vegetable oils. You know the ones: soybean, corn, sunflower, and canola oil. And here's the sneaky part. They're not just in that big bottle you might use for cooking. They're hidden in everything. Your salad dressings, your crackers, even a ton of those healthy frozen meals. So what's the big deal? Well, these oils are packed with omega-6 fatty acids. When your omega-6s get way out of balance with your omega-3s, which is the case for most of us, it kicks off this state of chronic, low-grade inflammation. It's like a constant quiet fire inside your body. And that inflammation basically signals your own immune system to start attacking your muscle tissue. And the damage is, well, it's staggering. A study from the University of Florida found that seniors with the highest levels of inflammation lost muscle mass almost 3 times faster. Let that sink in. 3 times. That is a huge difference. That's the difference between staying strong and independent and needing help with everyday tasks. So this is your first mission, and it's a simple one. Go into your kitchen and just swap those oils out. Switch to olive oil or avocado oil. I'm telling you, this is one of the single most powerful and protective things you can do for your muscles. All right, moving on to culprits number 2 and 3. I'm lumping these together because they're both part of that sweet deception. They feel like harmless little pleasures, but they are absolutely working against you behind the scenes. So when you have a sugary drink, and yes, I'm sorry to say this includes most fruit juices, your blood sugar skyrockets. For older muscles, this triggers something called anabolic resistance. You can think of it like your muscles suddenly become deaf. They just can't hear the signals from insulin that tell them to soak up protein and rebuild. And this isn't just a theory. A huge study summed it up with a pretty blunt conclusion. The sugar was literally neutralizing the protein. So you could be eating a perfect high-protein meal, but that glass of sweet tea or soda you have with it, it's just canceling out all your good work. And alcohol has a really similar effect. Research out of Penn State found that even moderate drinking, we're talking just 1 or 2 drinks a day, can slash your body's ability to build new muscle by up to 37%. It directly puts the brakes on repair and growth. You know, I saw this firsthand with a patient of mine, Margaret. She was doing everything right, but just kept getting weaker. The one and only change we made, her 2 glasses of wine a day, became a weekend-only thing. The result? A real, measurable improvement in her grip strength. It really works. Okay, next up, we're taking a walk down the middle aisles of the grocery store. We're talking about 2 staples of the American diet: refined grains and processed meats. They're quick, they're easy, but when it comes to your muscles, they're just empty calories. So things like white bread, white pasta, white rice, they spike your blood sugar, sure, but they also do something else. They wreck your gut health. They feed all the bad bacteria in there. And those bacteria then send out inflammatory signals through this communication network called the gut-muscle axis. It's like a direct negative hotline from your stomach straight to your muscles. Now for processed meats. Yeah, they've got protein, but it comes at a price. The preservatives and nitrates create something called oxidative stress. It's basically cellular rust. And this rust directly attacks and damages the mitochondria, the tiny energy factories inside your muscle cells. That is a direct cause of age-related muscle decline. But just like before, the solution is a simple swap. Instead of white bread, grab some whole grain bread or oats. Instead of packaged jelly meats, try affordable whole proteins like canned fish, whole eggs, or even beans and lentils. It's a game changer. All right, on to our final food, and this one feels like real betrayal. Because for decades, it's been sold to us as the healthy option. I'm talking about the myth of low-fat dairy. See, here's the dirty little secret. When food companies remove the fat from dairy, two bad things happen. First, they also remove essential fat-soluble vitamins, like vitamin D and K2, that your muscles desperately need. Second, to make it taste like anything again, they pump it full of sugar and thickeners, which just brings you right back to that blood sugar spike we already talked about. So the answer here is to stop fearing the fat. Embrace the full-fat versions. Full-fat plain Greek yogurt, whole milk, real cottage cheese. They have the healthy fats and nutrients that actually support your body and help you preserve muscle. I know that was a lot of don't eat this, but listen, the goal here isn't to overwhelm you. It's the exact opposite. This is all about giving you the knowledge to take back the controls, to make smart choices, and to really reclaim your strength. So let's just recap the plan. It's just 6 simple steps. Swap your oils. Ditch sugary drinks. Cut back on that daily glass of wine or beer. Choose whole grains. Replace processed meats with whole proteins. And opt for full-fat dairy. That's it. That's the whole plan. And I really need to hammer this point home. None of this is fancy or expensive. You don't need to go to a specialty store. Every single one of these swaps is waiting for you at your local Walmart, CVS, or grocery store, often for about the same price. This is about making smarter choices, not about spending more money. And of course, the most important tip of all, please, before you make any big changes to what you eat, have a chat with your doctor, especially if you're managing any kind of chronic condition. They know your personal health situation, and it's always best to be on the safe side. You know, your muscles have never stopped fighting for you. They've just been fighting an uphill battle against these things you didn't even know were a problem. But now you have the information. Now you know the strategy. So the only real question left is, are you ready to start fighting for them?
Today, we're going to tackle a really important question. Why do so many people over 60 keep losing muscle, even when they feel like they're doing everything right? We're going to uncover 3 hidden causes that, have less to do with what's on your plate and a whole lot more to do with these invisible processes happening inside your body. So, let's get right into it.
It is such a frustrating place to be, isn't it? You're reading all the articles, you're eating your protein, you're going for your walks, but maybe every 6 months or so you notice your grip is just a little bit weaker or your balance feels a tiny bit off. It feels like your muscle mass is just quietly slipping away no matter what you do. This exact question from so many of my patients honestly kept me up at night for years. Because the problem was never a lack of effort or willpower, it was always these 3 biological processes that really kick into high gear after 60. Once you understand them, I promise that frustration starts to fade and clarity takes its place. And that's the first real step toward making a change.
Okay, so our first clue is a process called anabolic resistance. And this is a really fundamental shift in how your body responds to the very building blocks of muscle. This is seriously the best way to think about it. After age 60, when that protein from your meal arrives, your muscles, they kind of become hard of hearing. They just don't register that signal as clearly as they used to. And what that means is the whole process of repairing and rebuilding muscle gets blunted.
And this slide just lays it out so perfectly. In a younger body, that protein signal comes in loud and clear, and the response is super fast and efficient. But in a body over 60, that same signal is muffled. It's like a quiet whisper. So you actually need more protein, delivered more precisely, just to get a similar response.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just some inevitable part of aging that you have to accept. The science is really clear on this. The biggest driver of anabolic resistance is chronic low-grade inflammation. It's that inflammation that directly messes with the growth pathways inside your muscle cells.
So the crucial point is this: we can absolutely fight back. Research from the University of Texas shows that because your muscles are less responsive, you have to send them consistent, strong signals. That means spreading your protein out evenly across breakfast, lunch, and dinner, aiming for at least 30 grams each time, is way more effective than just having one huge protein-heavy meal at night.
All right, let's move on to our second hidden cause. This one connects the invisible world of stress to the very real, very physical loss of muscle. I am talking about chronically high levels of cortisol. Okay, so cortisol is our main stress hormone. In little short bursts, it's absolutely essential for survival. But when it stays high day after day, it becomes destructive, what we call catabolic. It's basically an ancient survival switch that, in our modern world, starts quietly telling your body to eat its own muscle for fuel.
And let's be honest, after 60, there are a lot of things that can keep that cortisol level cranked up. Things like poor sleep, chronic pain, loneliness, or worrying about money, they all create this physiological environment that is just deeply hostile to muscle tissue, day in and day out.
And please, do not underestimate this. A landmark study from the Mayo Clinic came out with a staggering find. It found that older adults with the highest cortisol levels lost 3 times more lean muscle mass over 2 years than those with the lowest levels. And that was totally independent of their diet and exercise. 3 times. To really see how this works in the real world, let me tell you about a former patient of mine named Gerald. His story just perfectly illustrates the power of this hidden stress.
Gerald did everything by the book for 2 solid years. Strength training, high-protein diet, the works, and got almost no results. When we finally dug deeper, his cortisol levels told the whole story. He was sleeping terribly because of chronic back pain and was under this immense stress as a caregiver. His hormonal environment was basically sabotaging all of his hard work. So, our whole focus shifted to the root cause. We addressed his sleep, we worked on pain management, we connected him with a support group. And within 6 months, his muscle-building markers improved more than they had in the previous 2 full years. It just goes to show you the hormonal environment matters just as much as the food. All right, our third and final hidden cause gets right to the very source of energy inside every single one of your muscle cells: mitochondrial decline.
I want you to think of your mitochondria as these thousands of tiny little power plants. They're packed into every muscle fiber, and their job is to convert the food you eat into the energy your muscles need to function, to recover, and to grow. When they're healthy, your energy supply is just robust.
But as we get older, the number of these little power plants can decline, and the ones that are left become less efficient. As this slide shows, they produce less energy and more cellular gunk. This is the real biological reason why the same workout might leave you feeling totally depleted for days, when it used to just make you feel stronger.
But here is the really empowering part. The single most powerful way to rebuild your mitochondria costs absolutely nothing and doesn't require a prescription. It's simply sustained movement that challenges your cardiovascular system.
See, your body responds to that demand for more energy by literally building new, more efficient power plants. Research from the National Institute on Aging shows that as little as 20 minutes of brisk walking, 5 days a week, can make a huge difference. The key here really is consistency, not crushing intensity.
So there we have it. Anabolic resistance, high cortisol, and mitochondrial decline. These 3 things form this interconnected system. But to really see the whole picture, there is one last, often overlooked area we need to talk about. Now, this can be a difficult conversation to have, but it is so essential. Many seniors are on multiple medications, and some of them can have well-established effects on muscle and mitochondrial health. So for example, we know that statins can impair mitochondrial function in some people. Proton pump inhibitors, used for acid reflux, can reduce the absorption of magnesium, which is critical for muscle function. And some beta blockers can limit the very exercise tolerance your mitochondria need to regenerate. Let me be absolutely 100% clear. The point here is not to stop taking any medication. The point is to become an informed patient, bring this info to your next appointment, and just ask your doctor, hey, could any of my prescriptions be affecting my muscle health, and what are my options? And that really brings us to our final, and I think, most important takeaway. Your muscles are not failing you. They were never giving up on you. They are simply responding to a biological environment that has slowly, quietly shifted against them.
But now you understand that environment. And that understanding is the most powerful tool you have ever had.